Hey, Gator Nation. Welcome back to the Respect Our Decision podcast. Guys, as always, I'm your boy Hirsch. With me, CJ, the man McCann.
What's up, guys?
Little freeze, but we're here. And the hype man, Wes.
What's good, Gator Nation? How you guys doing?
Hey.
CJ's having some lag on his side right now, but we're gonna fight through it, guys. CJ's having the lag game over there, but he's gonna fight through it. As always, guys, make sure you go out, download this podcast wherever you get your podcast from. And if you're checking us out on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit the like on the comment and down below. Hit that like button, man. It helps us a great deal. And drop us a comment down below, guys. Tell us in the comments what you're most looking forward on the offensive side of the ball for spring practice. That's what we're going to be talking a little bit more about tonight on this episode. So, yeah, in the comments, leave us a comment down there about what you're looking for strictly on the offensive side of the ball in spring practice. Are you confused, Wes?
I was trying to figure out what word you just said just now. You said strictly? Was that
strictly. In other words, not defense, only offense.
Gotcha.
Teaching Wes one word at a time down here. He getting a little confused, man.
Well, the more you know.
Our boys are all got the giggles tonight, guys. You're gonna have to just deal with us. We're loopy. CJ hadn't slept in a month and a half.
I know, right?
Also, guys, make sure you go out there and sign up for Florida Victorious and use our code decision. Excuse me, I can't even talk.
Redecision.
Use code decision and get 20% off your first month with Florida Victorious, guys. Support Florida's athletes today. All right, boys, let's jump right in it, man. We got a commit this week. Get to talk about a commit first thing Monday afternoon. We got a commit from a high-ranked offensive lineman. What's going on in the world? Man, been a long time since we had an offensive lineman commit ranked in the top 125 of the country, but that's what we got. Peyton Joseph, interior offensive lineman out of Houston County, Georgia. He's 6'4", 305 pounds, ranks in at number 121 in the composite. And that was, that was right after we lose was that the same day or right? It was very right in there when we lost Stapleton.
A couple days after, yeah.
Like 3 days later.
We lose Coach Darnell Stapleton to Wes's Commanders, and then we get an offensive line commitment. I know some people are out there going, well, there it was. That was the problem. But, guys, we were projected to get Joseph before Coach Stapleton took that job with the Commanders, and Coach Stapleton is a very well thought of coach. I understand the recruiting aspect of things. That's a whole nother, ball of wax. We're not going to get into that right now. What we are going to talk about, though, is that we did, in fact, land a very, very good offensive lineman commit out of a very good school in Central Georgia. Yeah, right there in Warner Robins, man. That's a great pickup early in this cycle for this staff. Now, I know I said last week, not going to get too excited about, I'm not going to get overly excited about commitments right now. Obviously, if you have another season like you had last season, none of this is going to matter. Is it good to have them there under the commit column? Absolutely, though. I mean, it's nice to look and say, man, you got you a good offensive lineman. You got you a good receiver. You got you a good running back so far. That's off to a really good start. So, guys, Wes, I'll start with you. Obviously, we've been very, very critical of offensive line recruiting in this class. Are you excited to see a big-time interior offensive lineman added to the class? We hadn't signed a whole, obviously Kearney was a big one, but we signed a whole boatload of tackles over the last 2 years, even though none of them were outside of Westfall was ranked super high. So,
yeah, you brought up Kearney, and you some people brought up Harris as well, and Harris just kind of outperformed his ranking. It's not I want to say outperformed because he hadn't been on the field yet, but from everything we've heard behind closed doors as far as practices, Harris has looked pretty good. coming on. He's another interior guy that we got from IMG a couple years ago in that class with Kearney. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I love this pickup. It's huge for building the type of line we want to see protect DJ Lagway in the future. So you're looking at guys like this Westfall from last year. You know, we just talked about Kearney and Harris as well. So you want to have those type of guys when you have that type of guy as your quarterback. So got to give Sale and Stapleton is gone. He helped recruit this kid. So to have this type of offensive lineman, that was what we've been asking for. I know we wanted some tackles. Got Westfall last year, so I'm happy with him. Even though I want to, maybe a top 100, top 150 guy at tackle, but you won't hear no complaints from me with this one. Even if worst case scenario something happens and say worst case scenario Billy's not here next year, the kid I don't trust our offensive line coaches that much to say it was just because coach. Of them. Yeah, well, coach now. And it's not that I'm not saying that Florida is a brand. When I'm saying when I say this, what I mean by it is sometimes kids just love a university, and maybe we'll have that for us. Just if Napier does leave, a new coach sometimes you're gonna come in and try to recruit some of the guys that are already in your class just to save that class. Especially if it's a highly touted guy like this on the offensive line. I think that would be one of the new coach's first priorities, but I'm not speaking that's going to happen because I don't want that to happen. I would love for Billy to be here the next 12 years. That means we're winning some championships. So, but I'm very, very happy with this pickup, and hopefully we can keep him throughout the entirety of the class. But as you stated earlier, we are more focused this year on the season than the recruiting class.
Absolutely. CJ?
Oh, no, I like to get a kid from Warner Robins. Warner Robins produces great talent. You're talking about a kid who's not that far from Gainesville, go home. So it's not like you're recruiting a kid that's way far away. It's only about a 4-hour drive. That's not much. His other team he was really considering was Tennessee. So it was probably about the same distance, maybe a little further to Knoxville. So it wasn't like, he was really concerned, which is good because it seems like Georgia's had a lid on the Warner Robins area for a while. To get a few kids from that area is really, really good for us. Yeah. You had I can't remember his name, but he was coaching at Warner Robins High School not long ago. One of our former players, defensive back. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank for him, but he was coaching at Warner Robins not long ago. It didn't seem to really help us a ton to get guys in. So I'm excited for this commit again. It's this year is more so going to matter how you do on the field than anything at the moment, because we don't do too hot on the field. We're probably not going to have the same coaching staff, which means you're probably going to have a pretty big exodus of players from the recruiting class and the current class. So I think that we just got a long way to go to see this thing out. But commits like this don't hurt. You talk about Antoine Hill, the quarterback, getting to play with a kid that, he's familiar with would be, big for him. Definitely a guy we're still recruiting. He was very happy to see him commit to Florida. And as if you don't want to put anything into Twitter, but Antoine Hill is big on Florida. He likes Florida. So, that goes a long way. You always kind of want to keep talent, especially the quarterback position. As much turmoil as we've seen over the last few years as far as quarterbacks goes, if you got a guy like him in, that would be great. So maybe a familiar offensive lineman helps with that. He's playing in tough competition in Georgia, 6A classification or 5A now, but whatever. Just one of the better regions, better classifications in Georgia. Tough teams you got to play against. You're playing multiple teams. They played Thomas County Central, won a state title. Perry, just right up the road, also won a state championship. So a lot of really good teams they had to play against. So definitely a guy that has shown he has the talent. He's competing against kids that are all their D1 athletes, guys that have SEC offers. So definitely a kid that you really like to have in your class.
Yeah, this was a very, very solid pickup. And, you're going to need more of these guys. Obviously, I think that goes without saying. We've harped on it for 2 seasons now, about or 2 cycles now. that you just got to sign more SEC caliber offensive linemen. Research shows, all the research out there shows what the numbers prove about having high recruited offensive linemen, high ranked offensive linemen on championship teams, and all the statistics are out there that show. Now, granted, the teams that do it the most, Bama, Georgia, whatnot, obviously have superior athletes all across the field. So that kind of helps a little bit, but more high-rated offensive linemen are going to pan out probably than they flop, and more often than not. So get all of them you can get. I don't think you're going to find anybody that's going to argue that we need to sign 5 to 6 of this caliber kid in a class. So, and higher, obviously. I'd like to get some tackles inside the top 100. That would be a fantastic turn of events. But let's talk about who his strength and conditioning coach is going to be once he reaches the University of Florida. Knock on wood. Hopefully, he reaches the University of Florida and we have a great season. And hopefully it's due to this man's tutelage at the strength and conditioning program. Obviously, we talked about last week, Coach Fitzgerald taking that job up at Boston College. And then it was, well, who's going to replace him? Well, we went ahead and made that move this week as well. If you haven't heard already, Tyler Miles, who was already on the staff, gets the promotion to the I don't even know what the full head name of it is. It's crazy. He's the strength and conditioning coach. All right, let's lose all the wonky titles and all of that. He's the strength and conditioning coach. Tyler Miles. Now, there's some questions here and some things we're going to talk about here, and we'll get all three of our opinions on this matter. Tyler Miles has never technically been the head of any strength and conditioning program at a big-time college. He hasn't. That is a fact. Now, Tyler Miles also, though, has a very, solid resume. He was at Tennessee in 2018 as an intern where he was working with Craig Fitzgerald. So therein lies some experience with Fitz. He knows Fitz's system. He was helping run that system. And apparently from all that's been said and done, nothing has changed with the system that was implemented. We're running the exact same program that Coach Fitzgerald had set up. The players love Coach Miles and strongly advocated for him. So he's in 2019 and 2020, he ran a program or a company called Boost Performance where they train and helped athletes prepare for the combine. So obviously that's kind of a big time little thing. I don't have a resume in front of me of who, went there, who was under his tutelage there as far as getting ready for the combine. But obviously, if you have anybody signing up for programs like that, he must know what he's doing. And then as far as his resume after that goes, 2019, 2020 was obviously training kids with that at his private academy. 2021, he was the assistant strength and coordinating coach at Miami. 2022 is assistant director of sports performance at Duke. And then last year, he was director of player athletic development. So that was and now he's the full-time strength coach. I do know what some people's arguments are, and I don't all the way disagree with them. If this guy was so good, why wasn't he just the promotion to begin with? Why go outside and get Craig Fitzgerald or the two gentlemen they interviewed from Alabama or the one they interviewed from Notre Dame? If this was the guy, why didn't we just go ahead and promote him up from the jump? And that's a very, very good question. And at this point, I just honestly, I don't have a answer other than, right now it's Billy's sword to fall on. If these are the moves that he wants to make and he feels comfortable making, it is what it is. I just are they head scratchers? Absolutely. I'm not going to say that it's not. If that was like you said, if those people out there saying that, if that was such an easy move, maybe we should have already done it. But here we are. CJ, I'll start with you. And I just kind of want to, what are your feelings and thoughts on this move, making Coach Miles the head of strength and conditioning?
I don't know. The players seem to really like what he's doing. And coming from a position where we had a lot of players not liking what the strength and conditioning coach was doing, is better to me, at least. Yeah, obviously he knows what he's doing. He's very qualified. In the old saying, everybody's got to start somewhere. The problem I think a lot of people are having is why are they starting at Florida? It feels like we've got a lot of guys now here recently that have just been guys that aren't super duper, experienced or super duper qualified. They're starting at Florida. Well, this isn't a job where you start or whatever. And I get that, I understand it, but it feels like this guy has a pretty good pedigree from what I've read. He seems like he's very, well versed in all the different, training aspects. He's, more into the weights, I think, with these kids. It's not so much, endurance or running or, calisthenics or whatever the heck they were doing before. And it's the same plan that we were excited with Fitzgerald for. So it's not like we're veering away from that. And if it's successful, then great, it worked out. And if it's not, then we're in no different position than I think we expect to be, kind of right now. How the general mood is. It's just kind of falling in line with how we all feel. So maybe the guy comes in and we do really good and everybody's, in really great shape, and they come out next year, we don't have all these injuries and we don't have all these upper body injuries and we don't have these shoulder injuries and we don't have these hamstrings and these knees and things like that. And if it works out, that's all you can ask for as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, obviously he's got the same plan they're running now. It's not venturing away. We've still have the nutritionalist on staff. So I think there's a lot to be happy about. So I think he's worth a shot. I don't think this was Florida's first choice, but again, what choice do you have? You hired a guy that was super qualified. You hired a guy that you really like. And now he's taking another job. Are you really going to be able to go out and find another strength coach at this point? Most of these places aren't going to lose their strength coach. You get a very unique situation like Fitzgerald and O'Brien have, where they have a very good relationship, obviously, that played a lot into that. And that's not something that we really have. If you look at the guys that the strength and conditioning coach that Billy had a great relationship with was Hawk. So do you want Hawk to be your strength and conditioning coach again? I don't. So to me, this is better than the alternative, which we've already seen. So I'd just say, let's let it play out. Let's see how it goes. I said the players are responding well to it. And that's, to me, all that really matters. Do the players like it? Do they feel good? They're not getting hurt? Do they feel like they're in the best shape that they can be? And if all the answers to those are yes, then obviously he's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, he does value powerlifting, Olympic kind of weightlifting. So, hey man, if you can see the difference coming out week one on at the line of scrimmage over last year, then I think it's already a W. But we got to get there first. Wes, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, CJ alluded to some of the points earlier about, as far as saying why do guys seem like they're getting their start here at Florida, which I agree that, sometimes the old adage is, with jobs, like the jobs saying you need experience. We're like, well, how can I get experience if you don't hire me? So he seems, you alluded to his resume, and I like a guy that's been around some other guys, and then you can kind of cultivate your own thing. Him already being an intern, working with Fitzgerald, being at Duke, being at Miami. So he's been around some other programs as well, and also trains kids on his own as far as getting ready for the combine. So I like all that stuff. It's kind of late in the process right now. It's February, like we talked about last week. Fitzgerald already had a plan. These kids were already on a plan, getting ready to get ready for the spring game and getting into the season. So and him being an intern with Fitzgerald, I'm sure that Fitzgerald didn't just leave him out to dry, and not leave him. Hey, this is where we were at. This is where what we were going next. I've stopped right at the spring game. You have to take it over from there. But this is what I was planning to do. I don't know how far they map those things out, but I'm just giving like a rhetorical, not a rhetorical question, but just imagine if he said, "Okay, I'm all the way up to March 21st. This is where we're going to be at." So I think that's a plus, being that he worked with Fitzgerald before, and Fitzgerald can give him all the information. So I'm thankful for that. And it's kind of hard to get a guy right now when you think about it. I mean, we're looking at this like it's February. Where are you going to get somebody from at this time of year? So hopefully, Hershey talked about how the kids, already, loved him. And I'm pretty sure Napier has this leadership thing with captains on the team. And he probably talked to those guys, like who, had each captain come in and talk to them one-on-one and took what those guys said. So if those guys came up to him, because remember back in the day, with McElwain, those kids were working off campus, working out off campus,
working at Gold's. Out there working out at Gold's gym.
So we don't have that problem going on, and it's good that Napier has that type of leadership. Boone talked about it as he was one of the leaders that had, I think he said he had McCray and Lagway up under him. So Napier has that kind of thing where he has leadership of different guys in different positions on the team that he can call in and say, "Hey, how do you feel about Fitzgerald? Not Fitzgerald, excuse me. But how do you feel about such and such? How do you feel about this person? How do you feel about this?" And he gets that input and he takes that and see the vibe of the team, and I like it. So hopefully we can go ahead and move forward. And like you said, week 1, and we see the improvement on the line of scrimmage with our offensive line and our defensive line. And as far as the season goes, especially with those injuries that we had, those soft tissue injuries that drive everybody crazy, if we can limit those, then I'll be happy. This will be his first big time gig, and I know he wants to do well. So I'm pretty sure he's going to lean on all his knowledge and people he knows and contact what he's going to call, and that's what you would do. If I was him, that's what I would do. So, and kind of take all those ideas and mold them into what I believe is best. Because in the end of the day, he has to do what he feels is best for the program.
Yeah. You mentioned talking to the leaders. I know one leader that strongly advocated for him was Derek Wingo. I was told that Wingo loved the guy and was kind of speaking for other guys in the defensive room as saying, we really want this guy to take it over. We love what he brings to the table. There's so much to be said for that. Obviously, guys went to bat for Savage when Billy came in, same kind of thing. But just always remember, just because the guys like him doesn't mean he's necessarily the best fit for the job either. I mean, you can play devil's advocate on both sides of the coin there. It could mean that he's exactly the best person for the job, though. I mean, he may come in and the guys might just go in there every day, pumped to be in the weight room and doing the damn thing. So let's hope that's the case. Let's hope that we see some tremendous results soon. And, we even start to see it going into spring practice, which is now segue what we're going to talk about for a second. Spring practice right around the corner. I mean, hey, baseball season's already started. Spring is in the air and in our lungs. As you keep hearing all of us cough in this episode, we're all dealing with pollen here in the South. We're going to talk about some things tonight that we're looking forward to keeping an eye on offensively going into spring practice. I think that would be, we'll do. And then next week, obviously, we'll talk about the defensive side of the ball, but we want to strictly focus just on the offensive side of the ball tonight and see some things, some position battles we're looking at and how some guys look and, not just, hey, I want to see how DJ Lagway looks because, that's going to be the entire fan base. Everybody's going to want to know how DJ Lagway looks at practice in spring. Not that it matters because Graham Mertz is the starting quarterback, but it does matter because you want to see the future is bright under DJ. So, Wes, I'm going to start on your end, man. Without us rambling too much about it and going into, breakdowns of every single position and everything, what are some of the things you're most looking forward to on the offensive side of the ball in spring practice?
I'll stick to one position. Well, no, I'll say this. First off, it's got to be the offensive line. We have a lot of guys I feel like that have come in, some guys that were already in the program, some younger guys that hopefully ready to elevate and be up there to be able to play next year. So I want to see how that shakes out. Competition is something coaches talk about all the time as far as when competing against one another to become better. Iron sharpens iron. You know how that old saying goes. So I want to see how these new guys that transferred in, how the young guys, how they shake out. Where does Barber go? Does Barber go left, back to left tackle where he was last year, or where he's go where he was 2 years ago and he was excellent, all SEC type of guy in my opinion. If he goes back to right tackle, see if Slaughter continue to get better at center and solidify that spot, or does Kearney take that position over because we heard about him last year. So it's a lot of intrigue with me on the offensive line and seeing how that shakes out. I want to see if Mertz is back healthy, see if he's crisp in practice, and if he's getting the ball out. And then the key to me is who's going to help Trey on the outside. To me, we Ricky would have been a 1,000-yard receiver if Mertz played the last game of the season. We all know that. So who's going to help Trey? Who's going to be the guy? Is it going to be Gene? Or is it going to be Marcus Burke? Is it going to be I can't think of the kid's name. What's the fast guy name? Can't think of his name right now. The freshman from last year.
Aiden Mizell.
Aiden Mizell. I couldn't think of his name, but is he going to step up and take that Ricky spot, or who's going to be on the outside? What about these tight ends? Is Boardingham going to step up and be better than, or is the freshman going to come in and get some snaps? We have a lot of intriguing guys on the offensive side of the ball, but they're going to have. Trey is going to need help. He's going to be the main guy this year. Teams are going to probably. If I were a defensive coordinator coming to the season, I'm putting 2 on him. He's going to be shut down. There's no Ricky that we've seen yet. We know who Ricky was. It was hard to double team because Ricky was getting off. So I want to see how this all shakes out as far as who's going to step up. Is it going to be Gene? Is it going to be Burke? Or is it going to be somebody we haven't even thought about yet that's going to step up? And is it going to be one of the freshmen? We don't know yet. So a lot of guys out there, a lot of competition. I just want to see how it all shakes out at the end. So I'm happy and excited to see how these young guys and even some of the older guys come in and see what happens.
Sounds good there. CJ, what are you looking forward to?
Let's see how the running back room works out. That's one of the big stories in the offseason. You lose a guy like Etienne, who's, definitely a guy that's a playmaker and impact player running the football. Now you turn to, you've still got Montreal Johnson, who's probably the best all-around back you have on the team. Even last year, I think, as far as just a guy that could do everything, it was Montreal Johnson. Now you're bringing in Trayon Webb, and in his limited snaps, Trayon Webb looked really good in a lot of different things that he did. Cameron Carroll has made a recovery that I don't think, there was a lot of doubt at one point, could he play? Let's see how he does as a power back. Then you've got other guys, Kanan Daniels, who's, an all-state player, a guy that rushed for thousands of yards and was an entire team's offense. And our gentleman we just picked up from Decatur. Is it Decatur? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. I want to say it's Decatur. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. He just came on so late in the end of the process, but it's a guy that that the staff really believed in as far as a guy that could be an impact running back right away. But you got a lot of different positions there. Wes talked about the wide receiver room. You did add a transfer in Chimere DK that has a really good rapport with Graham Mertz. Maybe he steps into that role, that Ricky had, of a guy that Graham was just really comfortable throwing the ball to. A guy that he definitely knows. You've got some guys in the freshmen in the room, Jeray Hawkins, Tawaski Abrams, a couple of guys coming in. You've still got the young players, Andy Jean and Aiden Mizell. Of course, Trey Wilson is, the guy that everybody's going to be watching. Is, he's kind of taken over the role of just the dynamite player on the offense, the offensive, juggernaut that we have. So I think that there's a lot to look forward to. I'd like to see what Russ Callaway is going to do with the offense with the 2 tight ends we do have now. When you're talking about 2 big receiving vertical threat tight ends like Amir Jackson, like Arliss Boardingham, two guys that can really go up and get it. Now you have some more to play with in your two tight end sets and different looks. Russ is the tight ends coach. He understands what these guys can do. And he's, now he's going to be drawing up a lot of things for the offense. So I want to see what his tight ends can do. It's going to be a pretty big year for those guys. It's a weapon that we haven't been able to take full advantage of over the last few years. Since Kyle Pitts, you need a big threat tight end. You see what Georgia had been able to do with guys like Brock Bowers and Delp, those kind of guys that are just solid athletes where you can get the ball to them. Safety blanket players, guys that don't play too far away from the line of scrimmage that you can dump off to, get 5 or 6 yards when you're in a jam. That's really important for guys like Graham Mertz. He needs to have those check down guys. So, and those could be your vertical tight ends, could be your red zone threats now. I mean, you look at our wide receiver room. We don't have a bunch of tall, big, body wide receivers on this roster. So you're going to be looking at the tight ends in that spot a lot, I think. I think you're going to see a lot of fades and, things like that in the end zone with those guys because they're going to have to be the go up and get it kind of players. And then, of course, the quarterback room, we're all, anxious to see GJ. But, Graham Mertz, we got to see how he comes back from that injury. And I think we all expect that Graham Mertz is going to be the starter. I don't think anybody here is going to expect anything different. Of course, but he's still going to have to compete. I don't think that Billy Napier's MO is to, not make, players compete and they could just take time off and say, I'm the upperclassman, I'm going to play anyway. Graham Mertz is going to have to compete. He's going to have to show some stuff. DJ is going to have to learn. DJ is going to push. He's going to be a guy that's going to be gunning for that spot because as talented as DJ is, there's a lot of teams right now he can start for. So Graham Mertz is really going to have to push himself to get better. I think that's really good for Graham. I think that it's going to be, compared to last year where you had some guys behind him that weren't.
That room was not up to snuff.
Yeah, you weren't. Graham wasn't going to lose his job to Jack Miller or Max Brown. No offense to those guys, but they weren't close to what Graham could do. And even that's saying a lot because we didn't, there was a lot of people that thought really highly of Graham Mertz. Now he's got a season under his belt, threw for almost 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, had a really good season, ran for a couple more. So really had a great season, more than I think a lot of people expected. Now he's got a guy behind him that's hungry, that's bigger, he's faster, he's got a bigger arm, he's young, he's ready. He's going to have to compete. He's going to have to worry about that guy while also trying to kind of help him along as well. It's going to push Graham. I think it's going to push Graham to really do better. I think he's going to light a fire under him. He was a guy last year that was definitely just energized, ready to go, loved being a Florida Gator, brought a lot of energy and leadership to the team. Now he's got, like I said, he's now in a competition with a guy that's younger, and I think it's really going to fire him up. I think that he's going to have a great season because of it. I think it's good to have competition in the room, and I think that DJ is going to bring that. I'm curious to see what they do as far as multiple quarterback packages. We've seen that over the years. A lot of teams have implemented that last year, especially. Mississippi State did that a lot. I think South Carolina had some of those. I'm trying to think. There's a few other teams that also Utah did some of that. Where you have a quarterback with just a completely different skill set that was able to come in and do some different things. We've seen it here at Florida before. This is nothing new. I mean, at one point we had a season where we had 3 different quarterbacks that all did 3 different things and they all played significantly. So I think that's something we could see down the line. It's going to be very interesting. You're in a situation now where you're going to have to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks this season. I think you're in a position now where it's like there's no holding anything back anymore. If Billy's got some plays, if Billy's got more of that playbook, if he's got things that he hasn't been able to call, this is the year where you're going to have to open that sucker up and say, listen, this is what we got. We're going to have to do some stuff. We can't be afraid. I think we've all kind of talked about it. I'm of the mindset if Graham Mertz throws 4 or 5 more interceptions, I'm okay with that as long as he's trying to push the ball a little more. I think that's the only negative with Graham's game is just not pushing the ball downfield. When you've got guys and wide receivers that are lightning fast and can create separation and can get by some guys, You really need to, not be afraid to throw the ball down the field. And maybe you see DJ do some of that. He's got a, bigger arm than most anybody else in the country. So maybe that's something they look at, especially with Graham having to recover from having a collarbone injury. Let's see what, how that thing healed up, what kind of rust is there. But there's just a lot of storylines to follow with this offense going into this game, the spring game, and to see where we're at. Last year the spring game finished 10-7. Is that what we're going to see again this year? Yeah, is that what we're going to see again this year? Or we're going to see a little more high flying stuff? You also don't want to get the defense just ripped to shreds. So I'm curious to see what we bring. I'm curious to see what we've got now. Like I said, I hope, by all accounts that Russ Callaway has more say so in the playbook, because I think the guy actually has some pretty good concepts and some pretty good ideas from what he did at Samford. So I would like to see what he's got. I would like to see them really give him the book and just see what he could do, because at this point, I don't think you've got a choice. I think you got to bring in some fresh ideas. You've got to try some stuff.
Yeah, like old Dan Fouts said in The Waterboy,
Can't hold anything back now.
Couple of things real quick. Yes, you were right. Jaden Baugh is from Decatur. You had that nailed.
Yeah.
And in spring we won't be able to see Amir Jackson because Portal High School won't let them early entry. But still, the point remains: the tight end room will definitely be an area of focus. We need to get a lot more production out of that room this year.
Zipper should be back too, right?
Zipper should be back, so it'd be great to see how he's holding up. I was really, really impressed with Hayden Hansen last year. Like, I really think that young man, with another offseason under his belt, in a new weight system that's not just about speed, because let's face it, he's not beating anybody in a foot race anyway. But he's a powerful guy. If you can improve his blocking skills by getting him a little stronger, as well as being able maybe to truck a guy or two, he's got the size for it. I think he's a very underrated piece to the offense. But starting out, I'm right with what Wes said. The offensive line has to be the biggest what are we doing here kind of thing for me. You mentioned Barber. That was going to be my most key point. Do they, I think you see Dixon come in from San Diego State and most likely go to left tackle. But I thought, last year I thought Mazuka was going to start at left guard. So, here we are. I guess it would just really depend on what you get him on campus. You get him out there at practices, and you see who fits in best where. Obviously, Barber played hurt a lot of the season last year. Excuse me. And that hindered his ability a lot, but he looked very dominant to me and a lot of the rest of the fan base at right tackle. Does George practice at guard any? Do you see him slide in and then start practicing maybe at right guard or whatnot? I think Slaughter has center nailed down. I think that's one thing that we don't have to worry about. But, competition, iron sharpens iron, all of that. If Kearney can get in there or somebody else, what does Bryce Lovett look like? What does Najee Harris look like? By all accounts, Najee Harris looked like he was coming on very strong throughout, practices last year. So there's a lot of obviously question marks, but I believe we've already talked about it. Last year, you had a lot of guys playing first time here, out of place, hurt, and sure, all of those things are excuses in the long run because all that matters is performance. But this year, the continuity should be a lot better. The talent level, honestly, to me, with Slaughter being in a second full season, and I'll call last year a full season. Not, Kingsley didn't play enough for me to say that Slaughter wasn't the season. He was the starter for most of the year. If Barber gets to go back to his natural, what we believe natural right tackle and whatnot, I think you're going to see a lot more of a gelled offensive line this season, and hopefully a lot less, mental mistakes on the offensive line. Because God knows the mental mistakes on the offensive line hurt us as much as anything last year, especially in that first block of games. You know, the offsides and the whole, all of that. And George getting beat and then holding a guy when he got beat, and you know, just way too many mental mistakes on the offensive line as opposed to the year before where that wasn't near the problem. CJ, you mentioned running back. I was very much on that train as well. There were so many rumors that Cam Carroll had nerve damage in his leg and he wasn't going to be able to play. Now he's very optimistic that he is. So does he get out there? Does he look like he can contribute? Obviously, Montreal is going to be the bell cow. We all know that, but a lot of people think Trey Webb is ready to make that step. He certainly looked the part in limited action last year, but is that indicative of what he would look like over a full season with a large amount of carries? There's no way of knowing until you see it. Obviously, everybody's going to be looking at that position after you lose a kid the caliber of Trevor Etienne and saying, how much worse did you get? Or did you lose a step at all? And that's, those guys are going to be chomping at the bit to say, we don't miss him a bit. This running back room is as good as it's ever been. So that will be interesting to watch. Wide receiver, it's next. Who's the next guy next to Trey? I mean, that's a room full of guys that have a lot of opportunities, and you need at least 2 to 3 of them to really grab that brass ring and hold on. Can Andy Jean stay healthy and be what we think he can be? Can a Marcus Burke finally put it all together and show up? Can Khalil Jackson be what he seems to be on these amazing catches he makes now and then? But can he do that the whole game? Can he just be a presence the whole game? Because we need a big man. I mean, we can't just be throwing to 5'10", guys and 6-footer. It's nice to have that big possession guy that can, you can count on to make that difficult catch. And don't run a screen pass to him. Let him block for the screen pass. But the weapons are there. Let's make no mistake about it. I mean, the weapons have been recruited. The keys come down to, can the offensive line give Graham enough time to get the ball to the weapons, and can the offensive line open the holes for the running backs that are talented enough to run through them? So at the end of the day, it just boils down to like what we're saying. Can the offensive line take that next step, become what it was the season before last, play consistent game to game, keep Graham where he has time to look through his progressions? I mean, how many times do you think Graham wanted to go deep and didn't have the time to do it? I mean, it's ridiculous. And I know a lot of people complain about the route trees, and that's all, that's a fair conversation. It absolutely is. But at the same time, if you look at a lot of the video breakdowns, routes were coming open, but you got to have more than 3 seconds to throw the ball. I mean, a guy can't run down the 50 yards downfield.
Our shot plays never had a chance. As soon as his back foot hit off the play action,
he was having to run right. He was having to run left. And that was the thing with the bad part, with George letting so much pressure off that end. He's having to run the opposite way.
Yeah.
And throw a cross body. And it just, how that man had the completion percentage he did is a true testament to Graham Mertz and how well he played last year.
He was a true game manager, and that's what we wanted.
And that's fine. And he, like CJ said, he had almost 3,000 yards. And we said it before last season. I said it. If he had 2,600 yards and 20 to 27 touchdowns, I would have thought he had an amazing year. And he missed a game. I mean, a game that he could have turned into a W. If Graham Mertz plays that Florida State game, I think we're having a lot of different conversations.
If he finishes the Missouri game. If he finishes that,
I mean, we were down there at the 20 looking to score and it stalled out. You have Graham.
I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just thinking about the game he didn't play.
Yeah, but remember we had to fumble. We fumbled the running back
half a quarter.
We got to. I mean, we just talked about receiver, but we didn't really. Ricky Pearsall's not coming out of that locker room this year. So somebody's got to step it up. And you can't throw swing passes to Trey the whole game.
Nope.
Because he's going to get – and I hope he does. I hope he puts on a little bit of weight in the right places, and we talked about that with the strength and conditioning thing. But he's not built to take, 15, 20 hits a game. You just can't keep doing it. I mean, now luckily a lot of those swing passes he ends up getting out of bounds on and things like that. Yeah. But you've got smart. Too many other guys in there. Aiden Mizell, you mentioned. Andy Jean. You brought in Abrams, and you brought in Hawkins. And I really look forward to seeing if Hawkins can contribute, even if it's on a special teams this year. Which, I mean, I'm not trying to go into a special teams conversation, but because that's a whole different ball game. But that young man he's like the fastest guy on the team the moment he hits the campus, which he's already on. But I mean, that is a big time. He can do all the things that Trey does. He may not be able to do them this season, but he's one of those guys that in space can really make something happen. And that's what I look forward to seeing. It should be interesting. I'm not even going to hit on the quarterback thing. CJ really nailed all the aspects of that, man. I can't wait to the orange and blue game. I bet it's the most, obviously it being on Saturday is already going to make it a higher attended one than the last few years. But I would imagine it's probably even more higher attended than it's been in several years, period. Just because so many people are going to want to see DJ. Because he's going to be that kind of kid that draws. And with that setup, he's going to get a lot of snaps in the orange and blue game. So it'll be fun, man. It'll be fun to see what happens. It'll be fun to see how he gets used. I see a lot of people saying, we need to bubble wrap him. We need to do all that. No, you need to let the kid play. You need to let the kid.
It's the spring game. You got to play.
No, I'm not even. They're just saying period until it's one of our guys in our Facebook chat. I think it was Ryan. Ryan, shout out to you. You were talking about, just bubble wrap him until it's time for him to play. And I'm like, my whole take on that is just let the kid play.
He wants him to red shirt, like old red shirt.
I don't know about all that. I don't think that's exactly what he meant. I think he's just like, maybe he meant just put the non-contact on him in practice or whatever, something like that. But my point is let that kid do what he does because that's what makes him special. Get him out there in packages, maybe like CJ was talking about, because you got to make the other teams prepare for him, man. Mm-hmm. That's important. Making other teams prepare for that difference maker.
And that's 30 minutes of their practice time. Yeah.
We kind of threw it out the playbook because Graham's no real threat for it, but let him run that fake quarterback draw deep ball that Anthony Richardson ran all the time.
Because he's got the arm for it.
He's got the arm. He's got the legs to threaten. Guys are gonna worry about him running. I think he could do that.
It can be if you remember, Emory Jones was running when Kyle Trask was here. Emory was running all the time, and then remember against Georgia, he just threw it. Mullen had him throw it deep on that one. I think it should have been a pass interference. We didn't get the call, but he came in and he did the little rock thing where they assumed he was going to run it, and he launched. I didn't know he had an arm like that because he was never throwing it. Dan Mullen would just bring him in there to run. And that caught teams by surprise. For like you said, like if it takes a team 30 minutes of film study to prepare for his running, that takes them time out of doing, preparing for Mertz on regular stuff. So yeah, let them, like Hirsch was saying, let them do what they do because teams are going to have to prepare for it. They're going to have to spend 30 minutes an hour. Hey guys, this is how you're going to have to fit this when he's in the game. And
he
that
comes
takes
in there that third series or just once a quarter or on a third down and short, whatever have you not. And that's the beauty of having him and how big he is as a true freshman. That can't be understated. Is that kid is 6'2", 240 pounds. 230, whatever. He's big. He's a big guy that can do what Tebow did his freshman year as far as, he can do the brotherly shove action and all that kind of stuff, but he could fake and pull and run around the corner on you too and run over somebody, or at least have enough, forward momentum that you're not going to knock him off his feet.
And the early enrollee thing helps because unlike Trey last year coming in during the summertime, he's working out and getting bigger than he was in high school.
He's getting toned.
Yeah, he's getting
he's
right.
Gonna get toned out. He's going to get toned out, and they're going to have him at a weight. Yeah, we see you. He's going to get at a weight that they want him to be at, which is probably 230, 225, maybe leaner, but more muscular. You know what I mean? Like, take that,
like 1% body fat. Yeah, 1% body fat just jacked.
But like, the point remains that he's going to be that guy that can pull, run around the edge, and his momentum will get you 2 or 3 yards when you need 2 or 3 yards. And Graham showed guts to do that, but you don't want Graham doing that this year if he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
And you don't want DJ getting hurt either, but he's made to do that.
If you watch this stuff that we talked about, just like throwing the playbook out there and saying, "Hey, look, we got stuff. Split DJ out wide. Do some weird stuff." They used to do that with Cam Newton. They put him out wide at wide receiver, and they'd have to think like, they're not really going to throw him the ball, are they? Just give him stuff to think about. Put him out there. He's such a big guy. He's such an athletic guy with so many different skill sets. If you put him somewhere on the field, they're going to have to think about it. Even if you put him as like an up back or something. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff you could do with DJ that would really take the focus away from something else that you're trying to do. And that's why I think he should get a lot of playing time. It's just because he brings so many different skills to the team that you just haven't had. You haven't been able to access, because what Graham does is, like Wes said, he's a true game manager. He's AJ McCarron. He's the guy that does a lot of things well.
Trent Dilfer.
Well, don't do that to him. That's horrible.
Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl being a game manager. I don't got.
Trent Dilfer had Ray Lewis
and Ed Reed. Don't. I know. But that was the first time I ever remember hearing somebody called a game manager, even though you could argue Troy Aikman was a game manager too. But all right, guys, that's gonna do it for this week's episode. Like I said, tune in next week. We're going to do the whole thing over again, but we're going to talk about defense. And boy, we sure hope we see a lot of improvements on defense. But that's a whole nother conversation. We'll have that one next week. A lot of new faces on that side of the ball to break down and to talk about. I think the offense should be just fine if the offensive line can get itself squared away from left to right. But, man, it'll be fun to watch. CJ, what do you got for the guys before we get out of here?
Just thank you guys so much for supporting us as creators. Check out all the content we've got coming to you during the baseball season, the basketball season, all the things we got going on the channel. We're trying to pump out as much as we can for you guys because, we want you guys to have something to watch. We're all waiting for football, but we've got a long time until we play football again. We've got half a year. So we're trying to get you guys some more stuff to watch because we can only cover practice and recruiting is, it got to the point where it's a little repetitive. So we're trying to help you guys, give you guys some more Gator sports to follow. Baseball doing big things, basketball looking hot. So that's all good. Use our code with Florida Victorious. Use code Decision. Get your discount over there. Check out the things they're doing. Again, like I said last week, they do a lot of stuff for just the fans. They do, things like meetups and cookouts and things like that, and player signings and all kinds of things that they organize. So check that out. Then it's not just give you, you're not just like sending your money to just some entity and you're never going to see any return at all for it. They do things. They do have, different things that they do for the people that are members of Florida Victorious to try to, keep everybody as engaged as they possibly can, because it's not just football. It's also baseball. It's basketball. It's lacrosse, softball, the golf team. All these things are being funded by this Florida Victorious program. So it's helping out all the athletes all over. They're doing great things. Also, check out our friends at Alma Mater. Use our link. They've got a lot of new stuff over there dropping all the time. They've got that at the Florida Script stuff that, like the baseball team wears. They've got that on a blue hat now. I'm going to have to pick that one up myself. So that looks really cool. They've got the visors over there. The new jerseys are coming out, so check out the new jerseys that help support NIL athletes. And like I said, just use our link; helps us out a ton. Check out the Facebook page. We've got a chat over there with a bunch of conversation that goes on throughout the day. We keep it pretty toned in there. We don't really have a big message board feel where you've got a bunch of guys yelling at each other. It does, it's a really good community with good discussion about a bunch of different things. Check out the Twitter. We're all the time posting on the Twitter. A lot of news updates drop over there. So if you don't follow us on Twitter, make sure you do that. That helps out a bunch. So thank you guys so much for supporting us as creators. And we really enjoy putting out this content for you as baseball season ramps up. If you haven't checked it out, I have a season preview up over on the YouTube and the podcast for Around the Bases this year. We're kind of stagger that week by week and upload some different things. Baseball changing. We're kind of in the early part now. We're playing North Florida. The losses in St. John's, whatever. Just different things, and we'll cover that probably in the next episode. But right now, it's not ramped up all the way. So if you want to get your, just a taste for what's going on with Florida baseball, check out that episode that me and Hirsch did about a week ago. It's still up on YouTube. Get the numbers up on that. Get invested in baseball. Learn something a little new if you didn't know about baseball. Give you another Gator sport to follow and be hyped about while you kind of wait around to the fall. That's
right. Wes, take us home, buddy.
Yeah, March is next week, so we start March next week, and Hirsch's birthday is next week as well, guys, March 1st. So
March 1st, baby.
Drop him a happy birthday in the comments either this weekend, next week, because we'll record probably before he goes on his hiatus to enjoy his birthday.
Taking a little small weekend vacation.
Yeah, so give the host, the big man, a birthday shout out. And like CJ said, follow us on Twitter. It's right up under my name where you see my name right at Respect Our DCN. So follow us there on Twitter. Talked about our Facebook page. We appreciate you guys. Drop those comments on the YouTube page. Check out the baseball and the basketball posts on our YouTube that we just uploaded last week. We love you guys. Appreciate you guys. I think Kingsley and Ricky will be at the Combine on next week. So looking to see how those boys perform. I want to see what Ricky runs. I think he did well at the Senior Bowl from what I was reading. So shout out to Ricky. We need to keep our draft streak alive. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he does next weekend, the reports that come out there. So, but anyway, that's enough of that. We will see you guys next week. Tune in. And as always, go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators, baby. See you next week.